Muted.
Okay, again, hello and welcome to GoToTraining. We're going to talk about some fundamentals today. My name is Kathy Long and I am the Senior Training Specialist for the Center for Instructional Technology. I'm going to ask you just straight up from the very beginning today to please be extra patient with me. GoToTraining is a fairly new tool. It just recently got an upgrade with some new items such as breakout sessions. I've spent many hours over the past week trying to prepare for our training session today, but I got to tell you this tool is a little cumbersome compared to some of the other GoTo products, and there are some technical difficulties and some little bugs in this particular system that I haven't quite figured out all the way. So today, with all of us in here together, we might be able to both learn something. I promise to do my very best to share with you everything that I know to help you prepare for your classroom. But I also want to give you folks an opportunity too to talk to me and let me know how you want to use this tool and how you're using synchronous learning in your classroom environment. So we'll give you a chance to speak as well. But I do ask for that patience right up front. Dr. Monroe, if you've ever met Kara Monroe as well, we spent at least 4 hours last night just going through and practicing and trying to get things to work, and it just doesn't work the same way. GoTo products, GoToMeeting is something that you may have participated in. GoToMeeting is the screen sharing, phone conferencing software program that is built for 25 people or less. So a lot of times we'll just have quick conversations, quick meetings using GoToMeeting, and you probably participated with that at some point in time as well. GoTo also offers GoToWebinar, and that's my preferred tool. I love GoToWebinar. It's for users of 100 or more participants. I use GoToWebinar a lot. So all of the Ivy Learn training sessions that we've been doing, getting ready for the summer term, GoToWebinar is my favorite tool. I like that a lot. I use that a lot. It has the ability to do screen sharing. I can still use polls. I can still give people presenter rights. It's very flexible. And then today we're going to be talking about the GoToTraining tool. GoToTraining has a few more bells and whistles, but the more bells and whistles you add, the more complicated the system actually becomes. So GoToTraining is built for 200 people or less, so you can have up to 200 people in your session. It allows you, probably one of the coolest things that GoTo allows you, or GoToTraining allows you to do, you can actually create a test and then launch that test during the webinar presentation or the synchronous session or after, and it will allow the students to take that assessment after. So that's kind of something that's a benefit to GoToTraining. GoToTraining also has those breakout sessions where you can create little groups to be able to collaborate and work together. And I think that's one of the main reasons that the Math Curriculum Committee chose GoToTraining and then previously Blackboard Collaborate for those smaller group sessions. Okay, we will try our best today to show you several things. Today, I hope by the end of our presentation that you will learn how to conduct a good synchronous session, and a lot of that starts with planning. We're also going to talk about how to actually set up your GoToTraining sessions. So how do I build this session, and then how do I make that available in Ivy Learn for my students to be able to access it? And then we're also going to talk about, the basic tools and how to navigate the GoToTraining control panel. Okay. Yes, Maria, you're absolutely right. Maria says that she's going to use the GoToTraining for Online Math 123. That's exactly right, and that's why we're here today. All of you on the call today are math instructors who are going to be teaching the Synchronous Math 123 course. Absolutely right. Okay, so you're going to need several materials. So when you get started and you want to create your GoToTraining sessions, you're going to need the GoToTraining user account. And I believe that we've already had those created for you. You probably got an email notification inviting you or letting you know that you have a GoToTraining account. Okay, so hopefully you've already received that and you will have access. How many of you, just quickly in the chat box, have used GoTo products before? GoToMeeting, GoToTraining, GoToWebinar? Just let me know what your familiarity is with those products. Eric, you asked a great question. Did all instructors get that request? From what I understand, Sarah Profit, the instructional designer, and the curriculum committee, she was given a list of Math 123 synchronous instructors that was sent to GoToTraining to have your accounts created. So as far as I know, everyone who is on that list should have an account at this time. And if not, we'll definitely make sure that that gets set up for you. Okay. Oh, great. So Eric, you've used GoToMeeting, but not GoToTraining. Okay. So some of you have a little bit of experience, but not a lot. Okay. All right. So in addition to your GoToTraining user account, you should also have an Ivy Tech Google account. How many of you have already used your Ivy Tech Google account? You actually can access that through Google, or you can actually get, I'm sorry, I am all tongue-tied this morning. Excuse me, not enough caffeine yet. You can also access Google through myivy.ivytech.edu. Eric, if you have additions to that list, you can probably work with Sarah, or you can put in a help desk ticket, and we'll make sure that that happens for you. Okay. All right. Well, you need Google. You need to use your Google account with GoTo training. Okay, so that's going to be a crucial part of this as well. So again, we've got some moving parts here. The other thing that you're going to want to do is you're going to make sure that you have your schedule. So you want to know with your synchronous sessions, you're going to meet every Thursday from 2 to 4, whatever your time frame is. So you're going to need to know what your schedule is. And then probably the most important thing you're going to want to make sure that we have before you create a session, before your session goes live, you really need to plan, some kind of lesson plan. What materials am I going to use? What are my students going to be working on? And that's really going to be the key to your success. And then also, just be patient and flexible and always have a plan B, okay? Because technology can fail, and it also doesn't always work the way you want it to, okay? So that's what the materials are that you're going to need to do this. All right, let's jump right into the GoTo product line. So let me escape out of here. Okay, so one of the things that's going to be awkward during today's presentation is that some of the, when I create a breakout session for you, what you're going to view as the audience is that welcome screen, just a blank white screen that tells you where you're at and what you're doing. Okay, so that's there's going to be some blackout pieces that you're not going to see what I'm doing, but I'm going to try to show you as much as possible. I'm going to try to describe that for you, and then I really am going to encourage you to practice with that. And then if you have additional questions afterward, you can always email me at klong@ivytech.edu. And we can do a follow-up session, or I'll be glad to answer your questions. So just know this is just the beginning for us, and not the whole enchilada, so to speak. Okay. So what you are seeing right now is I've actually in my GoTo account page. Okay. So to get there, we put into our web browser. And by the way, you want to make sure that you're using Google Chrome as your browser, okay? Chrome. Just get that in your mind. That works with Ivy Learn, and it also is now the preferred browser with our GoToTraining products. Okay, so you're actually, to get to this section, you're going to go to GoToTraining.com. Okay, and it'll ask you to log in. If you have logged in before, if you've had GoToMeeting, for example, you're going to use those same credentials. Okay. If you have not logged in before, then look for that email account. I recommend that you use your Ivy Tech email, and then you're going to have a separate password. So there's not a single sign-on. This will be an additional password that you're going to have to remember. But I always recommend, as far as your username, to use your Ivy Tech email address. Okay. Once you're in this GoTo web page, okay, you'll see there's a series of items on the left-hand side of the page. You can create a training session, so that's the first step. All right, so you want to make sure that when we're creating and setting up our synchronous sessions, this is how we're going to do that. We're going to log in to GoToTraining.com, and the first thing we're going to do is we're going to create a training session. Okay, so this whole gray area over here, this is kind of our menu options. Here's a kind of a checklist of things that you need to do to get started when you're setting up your webinar. So you're going to schedule the training, and that's the same thing as create a training. Setting up evaluation, so if you want to have an assessment or if you want to have a follow-up evaluation. So GoToTraining is usually used for a lot of training sessions. So if I would be on top of my game, I would send you a little survey after this, which would be my evaluation piece, asking me how you enjoyed the training session. You can add materials, so this is a little checklist of things you need to do when you're preparing. You can create a poll, and I have an example for that later for you to show you what that looks like. And then this catalog piece is where you publish a public catalog for anybody who wants to can take this course. So you're not going to use that tool at all, so just don't even worry about the catalog. So let's walk through this one time, and this is not as difficult or as intimidating as it may look at the first try. So we're going to click Create a Training Session. Okay, so just like anything in Ivy Learn or even Blackboard, it's always add something. So we have this plus sign, Create a Training. You're going to give that a title. And I would recommend doing your section number. So formerly the naming convention would be Math 123. Z is my code here in the Center for Instructional Technology. So I would have this correspond with whatever your course schedule says, okay? All right, you can give it a description if you'd like. Okay. Under the Occurs section, this is going to be very critical. You want to use this pull-down menu, and you're going to set this up on a weekly basis. So I'm assuming, let me know just really quickly in the chat bar, how many of you do once-a-week sessions, and how many of you are going to be doing maybe like twice-a-week sessions? How does that work for you? Eric says once a week. Okay. Okay, great. Okay. So if it's going to be once a week, I'm going to click weekly. Oh my goodness, you guys, I am so sorry. Under the start date, we are going to go over here to the little calendar icon, and we're going to pick our start date. So I believe classes start the week of May 22nd. So I'm going to say I meet every Thursday, and I'm going to say from 2 to 3 in the afternoon. So knowing your schedule is where this becomes handy. Okay, and I want to do PM, not AM. All right, and then I'm going to select an end date. Again, I'm going to use my little calendar to select that. And we will just go ahead and say that that was June 22nd. I don't really know when the end of the semester is right off the top of my head. You're going to choose your time zone. So if you are in a different time zone, you'll select the time zone that's best for you. Basically, though, all of our Ivy Tech calendars are set to Eastern Standard Time. So I'm going to set the training time for me for Indiana Eastern Standard. And here's under registration type. Participants register once to attend all sessions. So in this particular case, since these students are going to be with you throughout the semester, we're going to use this default setting, participants register once to attend all sessions. Okay. Participants register for individual sessions that they'll attend. So this is an option that I use when I'm setting up training sessions for the college, because I might offer, how to use GoToTraining multiple times. For example, this session I did offer twice, so you can register for the individual session. In our case, with Math 123, we definitely want to make sure that our participants register once for all the sessions. So after I've made my times and dates, I click Schedule. Okay, you'll now see that I have my session created, Math 123. Here is a description of that. My dates and times, I can add this to my calendar. If I click that, it'll automatically populate on my Microsoft Outlook calendar. There's lots of little tidbits built in. So here's all of my sessions that are scheduled. This is a way that you can double check to make sure that they're available and ready for you, that you've scheduled them all and you didn't miss a week. Okay. Here is the audio section. Okay, and each section has a corresponding edit button. Okay, I always just kind of leave this to the default. Participants can use their computer's microphone and speakers, or they can use dial-in using their telephone. I've tried both of these modalities, and the guide that GoToTraining offers, they suggested using a microphone and headset that's connected to the computer. That has its benefits. I prefer using my phone, but I leave both options open. Okay. All right, you can set up class activities. So here's our breakout session, which is what we're going to use, our breakout rooms. And when you click this More button here, it actually, here's how you can get some tutorials, some specific instructions on how this works, how this breakout session works. Okay? So there's information built directly into the breakout session. Okay? So a great way to find more hands-on details about this particular topic. Okay. I can add materials. Okay, so to do this, every little section here, you'll notice that there's this little triangle. This is a play button. So each one of these areas has a short video that you can watch. The edit button allows you to add the materials. So when I click edit, okay, this is how I can add materials. And when I'm adding materials, I can add a web link, a URL. I can add something from my storage, like off my computer. I want to give a handout, a PDF, whatever that might be. I can add those materials here. So from computer, I would select my file. So I've now added my document, and I want to click Upload. I can give that a description, so maybe I've added a PDF or some kind of handout that I want the student to be able to see. I can give that a description so the student knows what that is. And I click Upload. And now that item is available under my Materials section. Okay. This area right here acts as a breadcrumb trail or a mini navigational menu. So right now I'm in Materials, and I want to go back to Manage Training. All right. I can add a test. Okay, so when I click Edit, I can add a test. I can create something new. It's very straightforward. I think there's only multiple choice with one answer, multiple answers, true, false, or short answers. So this may or may not be beneficial to you in this capacity, but you can build in a little assessment or create a test. I've also, if I go back one, I created a quiz, a test earlier. So when I click Add Test, I can select something from the library. So over here on the left-hand side of the page, you'll see there's this library button. And you can actually create materials for the library and then just pull those in as you need to for the individual sessions. So I'm going to select something from the library. And you'll see I have several different tests that are created. And I've actually added a test into our environment. So if we have time, I'll show you what that looks like a little bit later. So I click my Add Test, and now that's also in my settings box. Okay. If I go over to the library, I can create all of my materials here. You'll see I've added a lot of materials already to my library. This is kind of like if you think more of a storage area. So if I'm going to use the document in multiple places, I might want to just create all of this information here in my library. That's a workflow that you're going to need to select for yourself. Okay. Polls, those are things that you would launch throughout the course. They're usually like 4 options. So, for example, I use polls in our for our student webinars on how to navigate the Ivy Learn or online environment. You know, what mobile devices do you use, or how will you be accessing Ivy Learn? And then they have, you know, my computer, my phone, a laptop, whatever, a Mac. So you can create polls to do little spot checks. Okay. We go back into my trainings, because we are working on Math 123. To continue to edit that, I just click the name. Okay, so we were under here at our creating our class activities. Okay, here is your registration link, and this is going to be important because this is the link that we're going to need when we add this to our Ivy Learn classroom so students can access the page. Okay. Here's registration and payment settings. We're not going to charge for this, so I would just leave this by default. You can track your registrants. Again, this is more of a corporate thing. Catalogs, again, that's where you publish out to the entire world, and we're not going to mess with that, so don't worry about that. And then we have emails. So you notice that I've set up to send you an email reminder 1 hour before the training session. So you can set this up for your students. I might want to set up for my students. I don't want to send it a week before because we're meeting on a weekly basis. Okay. I might want to do, though, 1 hour before the start and date time. So it prompts students, hey, you've got this webinar coming up. Okay. You can actually personalize your text. So the reminder that they get, you know, you could say, hey, I'm looking forward to seeing you soon. We're going to be talking about, and you can enter in whatever your topics are for the day. Okay. And then click Save. Okay. So now we have set up all of our I've scheduled my sessions. I'm ready to go. Now, while we're here, let's go show how we're going to add this to our Ivy Learn environment. Okay, so I want to make sure that I copy and paste the link. Okay, so this is the invitation link, and this is how students will actually register, and then they'll get an email. Come on. It doesn't want to let me do that. Okay, come on. There we go. All right, so I'm just going to highlight that, Control C for copy. All right, now I'm going to go into the Ivy Learn platform. So when I go into Ivy Learn, we know that it automatically opens up to our dashboard when we log in. So here is the quantitative reasoning course. So each one of you will have one of these with your very specific section number here. To access the course, we just click on the course card. And now you need to decide where you're going to place this in the course. I might do a couple things. I might put it on my announcement page to let the students know how we're going to be using those synchronous sessions, when we're going to be meeting, and the link to get there. And then I personally would go down here to modules. This is where students access the information. They can get there through the home page, or they can actually get here through the module page. When you click modules, it lists all the activities in the course in an index view. So it's kind of a nice list. And you'll notice here that they have already put a placeholder in the modules where you can add the link. Okay? So to edit this link, I'm going to go over here to the far right-hand side to the little icons or settings button, and I'm going to click Edit. And I'm sorry, I'm going to actually click the link of the title of the name. So I'm going to click Synchronous Sessions, all right, and I'm going to click Edit. So I might give some directions to my students here. And I'm pasting that. Now, right now, it's not actually a link yet, okay? So I want to highlight this. And in this content editor, I need to create the link. So I'm going to click the link. This is my matching link, so update link. And now now students can actually just click on that. Oh, pickles. Sorry about that. When I go down here to the bottom of the page to save this, okay, the students, when they're progressing through the module, will now come here, and when they click this link, it will tell them to register for the course. So they'll enter their first name and last name with their email address and click register. They will get an email with their individual and personalized URL link to join the session. Okay? And you can do this for each module, or you can do this in some universal setting. I'm going to leave that up to you as the curriculum committee and work with your instructional designer on where you want to add that information. I see here that there's already a placeholder built into your course, so I imagine that that's where you're going to add that link. Okay? How's everybody doing? Does that make sense to you, how you're going to add that information to Ivy Learn? Okay, great. All right. So now we've created our sessions. Let's look at what it looks like once we get into a session. Okay? And while I'm in here, let me edit this again, because this is actually the master shell, and I don't want Sarah or the Math 123 Curriculum Committee coming to find me because I messed up their course. So let me go ahead and delete that information out. There we go. And now we're back to where we started. Okay. All right, so we've set up our sessions. Now I wanted to, real quickly, let me some of you had put in just a little bit later after I selected our sessions for weekly that some of you might be meeting twice a week during an 8-week session. Let me just show you really quickly when you do that, how you would set up your schedule. So when you're setting up your dates and times, let me see if I can do this in this course that's already been created. I can add another session, okay, and I can create that start date, and I can select those secondary terms, okay? So I can add things to the calendar after I've created it, all right? However, when I'm creating a session for the first time, a training session, okay, from the pull-down menu occurs, I would select custom schedule, okay? So this is where I'm going to have to enter each individual date. So I'm going to meet on Tuesdays and Thursdays, so I would use the custom schedule, and then I would have to manually enter in all those dates. Versus our first demonstration, we just selected weekly, and it just put that on every Thursday from 2 to 3. Okay, so Maria, I think you were the one who is going to be meeting twice a week. You're going to use the custom schedule to build those dates and times. I will tell you when GoToWebinar or GoToTraining opens up, all of the microphones are turned on. So when several of you were logging in, I could hear everything that was going on in the background, and that can be distracting to our students and to the participants in the course. So I sent a nice little polite reminder in the chat, hey, make sure you turn your microphone off unless you're speaking, okay? And so several people didn't get that message, which is fine. That's very typical in the webinar or synchronous session world. So what you can do, you can actually mute everyone in the course. Okay, so depending on how many people you have, you can mute all. And I'll show you how to do that. So let's see here. I'm going to put all of this back together. And let me switch over and let me see if I can show you. Okay. What you should be looking at right now is the instructor GoToTraining control panel. Okay. So you have, as a participant, less options than I do. Okay. Every user has this toolbar across the very top of the page. Okay. So here it is, this little File, Options, View, and Help. Okay. When I click File, this allows me to save my chat log. That actually, you can do that automatically. That happens. I can edit my name and email. Hopefully, you're just going to use your Ivy Tech email and account, so you don't need to edit your name. This Labs option allows you to show your control panel while you are doing the demonstration. In my particular case, I have 2 monitors. So I have my GoToTraining module open up on my second monitor, and I'm just showing you or sharing with you my second monitor. So you're not going to be seeing my control panel throughout the whole thing. Options allows you to set up options. Attendees cannot chat, so you can turn off the chat feature for attendees. You can chat with organizers only. So if I had a co-facilitator in my class, or co-teaching, we both would be organizers, so we could communicate just with one another outside of the whole group. I have selected attendees can chat with anyone, so we're all using the chat to communicate with one another. I've allowed attendees to see the attendee list, so you can see what other peers are on the presentation with you. Attendees can raise hands. So one of the ways that you can manage your presentation is if students want to use their microphone, they need to raise their hand, and then you can call on them. So if you don't mind, Eric, I'm going to just ask you to raise your hand for me. Okay, so you'll notice that Eric has raised his hand, and if someone else will go ahead and raise their hand as well. All right, so you see that Maria has raised her hand. Now, unfortunately, in Blackboard Collaborate, which I did not care for all that much, they had this nice little 1, 2, 3. You'll notice here, I haven't, not everyone has raised their hand. It doesn't tell me what order they raised their hands. So what I'm going to do right now is I'm going to use Eric as my example. So Eric has raised his hand, and I'm going to unmute him. Okay, and I'm going to unmute him by just clicking on his microphone. Okay, so hopefully, Eric, up here on your control panel, if you will unmute your mic here as well, make sure this is green. If you would just say hello, and if you have a question, feel free to ask it at this time.
Hello, everyone. Hope you guys had a good morning. And at this time, I really don't have any questions. So.
Okay, all right. Eric, am I moving at a good pace? Am I being too detailed? Am I getting to stuff you need? I want to make sure that you're getting what you need out of this session.
I feel comfortable with the pace. I don't want to speak for everyone else, though.
Okay. Thank you. Put Eric on the spot here. All right, so you'll notice here I have controls. All right, so I'm going to lower everyone's hands. Okay, and I can mute all or I can unmute all. So now everyone is unmuted. You'll see here Cyrus still has a line through his microphone. This means that he has actually muted himself as well as me, you know, unmuting him. All right, so I'm going to go ahead and mute everyone. Again, if you do have a question, feel free to go ahead and raise your hand at any time. These icons, if you had turned on your webcam, you would see the little webcam video here. Okay, it will be turned on. I don't recommend using the webcam unless that is the feature that you are going to be talking about. If you have a guest lecturer or if you want your students to see you while you're giving the lecture, I would use the webcam. Personally, I don't use the webcam a lot just because it takes up extra bandwidth. Okay, so if a student is on a wireless connection and I'm using a webcam, everything slows down. So the more elements you have going on, it takes up a lot of bandwidth. It starts getting there's the potential for things to be buffering, so there's a delay in the audio and the video. So I use the webcam very selectively. But if people had their webcams on, you would see that highlighted here. So it looks like Eric has a webcam that could be available. Maria has a webcam that could be available. I have a webcam. It's on my computer. It's connected, but it's not turned on. All right, so this whole section here, you can change your view. So I can remove, say, I don't want to look at the dashboard. I can remove that from my pod. So this is how you can customize your control panel. So if I'm not going to use polls and tests, I could remove that. Okay, I can also remove an area by just clicking the little X. And you'll see that that polls section has just disappeared from my control panel. And I can turn it back on by using the toolbar at the top of the page. Okay. Probably one of the things that you're going to use a lot is show my screen. Okay, this is how you actually show the audience what you want them to see. And there are several options here. So because I have two monitors, I can show my main monitor. Okay, so your view just changed. You're now seeing monitor 1. And you'll notice there's a delay there. So during my presentation, I often try to take a little pause to make sure that that screen is changing. I always try to keep my audience view open or easily accessible so I can make sure that the students are seeing what I need them to be seeing. Okay. I can also, from this pull-down menu, I'm going to go back to my monitor 2. And when I say clean, it means there's no icons, the taskbar and all of that doesn't show up. So I'm going to say show my second screen. So you're now seeing our control panel again. Okay. Each section, there's webcam and video. I can share my webcam by clicking this button. Hello and good morning. Hopefully you're seeing my webcam. You can I think it's customizable. You can minimize that. You can close it out. You don't have to be looking at me if you don't want to. But I'm going to go ahead and turn my webcam off just by clicking this button again. So I'm going to stop sharing my webcam. So that's how you turn that on. Share a video. Now, this is one of those areas I'm not going to spend a lot of time on today because Kara and I literally spent hours yesterday trying to figure out how this works. And it was very weird. You can share a video. So she could hear the audio as my participant. I couldn't hear the audio when the video was playing. It was very, very strange. So I'm going to investigate that a little bit more, and we can have another session on how to share a video. And I can see where that might come in handy for you folks. I don't know if you use the Khan Academy or maybe some supplemental videos, but you can do that technically using the share video, okay? This is where I can set up my audio. I can switch. So for example, if my computer audio fails, I can move to phone call or vice versa. And this is available for all participants. Here's a timer. So if I'm going to use a breakout session, I might say we're going to set the timer for 10 minutes for my sessions to work. So I'm going to click Start Timer. And hopefully all of you in your participant view are seeing that timer. Okay. If you are seeing that timer, let me know. And it's also, you should be able to see it and you should be able to move it around on your screen as the participant. Okay, so I'm going to go ahead and stop my timer. The dashboard kind of gives you an idea of what's going on in the course. I don't access the dashboard rarely ever, but it kind of keeps track of what you're doing. So how many times has your hand been raised? How attentive are my attendees? This is kind of a gauge to let me see if I'm losing people or not. And what it does, every time someone posts something in the chat box, someone raises a hand, it kind of tracks that activity, and that's how that information is gathered. Okay, there's a list of your attendees, so you can see who was here and who wasn't. This is also where I can control and see the audio and also raise and lower people's hands. Okay. Activities. So this is where we would actually go into our breakout session, and we're going to get there in just a second. Materials, I've added a couple different documents here. Okay, so I can open this document, what is quantitative reasoning. I actually grabbed that from your course. And then I also added this handout, Webawat Webamazing. And this is actually a document, and if you can't access it on your control panel, this is something I can make available to you, because this is really the 5 steps that you need to take to prepare for doing a good session. And we'll talk about a few of those features in just a moment. You'll notice I can also manage materials, and when I do this, this allows me to add additional materials to my section. I actually added these prior to the start of the webinar so that I can prepare these ahead of time. So you remember when we were doing our settings and we were setting up our sessions, this is a way that I can add those materials. I can also do it live. It does take away from your presentation time, but you can add materials in the middle of the presentation as well. Okay. Here's an example of a poll. So I want to show you what that looks like. I'm going to select a poll, so if I had more than one. Okay. So here's the question, and when I launch it, your screen should change to the poll question. Okay, and if everyone will just answer that poll, just pick one, that would be great. while this poll is going on, it's actually telling me 80% have voted, and now I have 100% voted. Okay, I'm going to close my poll. Okay, I can publish that poll, and here we are. It's right down here. I've closed the poll. 100% have voted. Okay, and I can share the results, or I can just use this for my own information. Okay, and just FYI, to access Ivy Learn, it is ivylearn.ivytech.edu. Okay, so a trick question, not Canvas, ivylearn.ivytech.edu is how you access the Ivy Learn platform. There we go. All right, so that's how we manage polls. And I'm going to go ahead and hide that or close that. All right. Okay, the other tool that I really like, let me show you how tests are done. I'm going to launch a test just so you can experience this from the student perspective. And if you will just confirm to me in the chat box that you are seeing the test, that would be great. Okay, so this is a feature that you can use in GoToTraining. It's not available in any of the other GoTo products. So if you wanted to do a quick assessment, and again, it's very straightforward. You can't do any graphs. You can't really do anything but multiple choice. You can't add a picture. It's all text-based. So that may or may not be useful to you. You can also send or create a test and send it to the participants or students after your session has ended. And then you get those reports back in the GoToTraining area. Okay, I'm going to go ahead and close that test. After all, I just want to show you how that works and what that option looks like. All right, I'm going to scale down my control panel here a little bit so I can have more ability to work. If you do synchronous sessions, I highly recommend using 2 monitors. I don't know how many of you have those available to you, but it really is easy to do. Can you share the results? Great question, Eric. Can you share the results of the test? Yes, you sure can. Let me show you where you get those results. So let me change my screen view here. And I want to say, hopefully I'm not going to ruin this. After this would end, I would see my test results under, I believe it's my reports. Yeah, so here's the test report. Shows when registrants submitted tests for training, their scores for each test, and the average test score. And then there's a couple different reports that you can run. So that's how you would get the test results after, and if you wanted to maintain those. But if you wanted to, you could share those results with the class right there during the live session. Okay, we're going to enter into the part of the presentation now that makes me nervous. It's the breakout session. So let's go ahead and see what we can do here. The other thing I recommend is practicing this. So now that you have your accounts, hopefully, and if you don't, let me know as soon as possible, or put that help desk ticket in, or coordinate that, and we will make sure you get those accounts. Practice, play around with it. You can't break it. Maybe collaborate with a friend so you can practice with those breakout sessions. It's much easier to do and practice when you have multiple people in those breakout sessions. Okay. To get to the breakout session, you go to the activity area. So let me go back over here to my other screen. Okay. All right. So on this screen, I'm going to go in, this is on my control panel, I'm going to go into Activity, and I'm going to select Choose an Activity. When I select Choose an Activity, it opens up another page on my Chrome browser. It pauses my screen. It closes my control panel for just a second. Let me see if I can make this. Oh, fantastic. I didn't think I was going to be able to show you this. Okay, so if I was just from the participant view, when you go into this mode right here, when you're going into the breakout session, this is what the breakout room looks like. Okay, that's what you're seeing on your screen. This is not viewable to the student. Okay, the only reason I'm allowed to show this to you right now is because I have two monitors. Okay, but normally what the student would see is just that white, when you first logged into the webinar today, it was just that white screen with some text telling you what presentation you were in. Okay. All right, so this is it. When you go into breakout sessions, again, we're going to choose Activity from our control panel. Okay. It opens up this page on your Google browser. You'll see that all of my attendees are located on the left-hand side of the page. So here is everyone who's here today. Okay. Up here at the top, I can select to do a session with everyone so we can collaborate on one document together. We can look at one thing together. Or I can break you out into smaller groups. And to do that, from this pull-down menu, I can say I want to do 2 breakouts, 3 breakouts, 4 breakouts, just depending on how, and breakouts are actually rooms. So think of it that way, or groups. Okay, so I'm going to say, let's break you into 2 groups today. Okay. You'll automatically get this pop-up as an instructor to have you sign into your Google account. Let's see if I can move that. Okay. If I wanted to move someone, so maybe, I hope you don't mind, Theo, is it okay to call you Theo? I don't want to offend anyone by calling them the wrong name. I can move you into the other group, and I can move anyone into the other group by just placing my cursor on their name and dragging them over to the other group. Okay, so I can have it automatically shuffle students for me, or I can manually move people back and forth. And I can set up my groups just by using my cursor and just drag and dropping. Now, it's going to prompt me to log into my Google account. So I'm going to do that by clicking Edit a Document Together. And I'm going to sign in with Google. And again, this is your Google account. I have multiple Google accounts. So you'll notice up here at the top right-hand side of the page, here's my account. So that's my personal account, and I want to use my Ivy Tech account. So remember, always use your account. I've already added a document for all of you to see, okay, and work on together. I can also add, I've added before it started, this quantitative reasoning document that I pulled out of the course, okay. I can allow people to share their screens. I can tell them to use audio only, okay. So I have my document, or I have what is quantitative reasoning. I want you to work on what is quantitative reasoning. So I've selected that. You notice that there's a little green check mark. I can do multiple documents or multiple breakout sessions, but they can only work at one activity at a time. Okay, so I can edit the document together. I could select this Math 123 demo, okay, or I could go down here and say, I want you to work on this quantitative reasoning. So this is a PDF. So this is something that they would use to discuss. You can't necessarily write on the quantitative document because it's a PDF, but you can, up here, work together to collaborate on a document. So let's start first. I'll show you what this PDF looks like. I've selected what I want you to look at, and then I'm going to click Start. Okay. So what you should be seeing right now are both of my breakout sessions. Okay, so you're seeing the Can you just confirm to me that you are seeing the breakout sessions in the chat box? Eric, if you don't mind, can I turn your microphone back on? Hello? Oh, Hello? Hello? Can you hear me now? Oh, great. Okay. So I'm just sitting here talking to you guys, asking your opinions. There's like nothing but crickets. Oh, so frustrating. Okay, so what happens when you use your phone in a breakout session? It kicks you out and asks the student to enter their phone number, and then they call you back, and it's very complicated. So that is one of the reasons why they ask you to use a microphone and headset in your computer, something connected to your computer. So I lost audio. It wouldn't let me come back on through the phone call unless I dialed back in. So I actually switched in the middle of our presentation over to my headset and microphone that belongs on my computer. Okay, so just be aware when you're practicing that that's the little glitch with those breakout sessions. Okay, so I know that we're running over a little bit. What are your thoughts? You know, what are your questions? What can I do to help you? And you can raise your hand and I can turn your audio on, or I think I might have already turned your audio back on. Anyone have any comments? Okay. All right. So Cyrus and Michael have both said that they'll probably have more questions when they start preparing for the course to go online, and I can see that. And you're good for now. Okay. I will email you a document on how to prepare for your, it says prepare and think for a webcast, but it's an asynchronous session. And really, when you think about it, the number one thing with this technology is really preparing ahead of time. What materials am I going to use? What are my learning objectives? You know, how are you using this content? If just for my own personal knowledge, would one of you like to share, you know, how you like to use those breakout sessions or how you've used them in the past? And you can use either your microphone by raising your hand or typing that message in. Okay. Okay. Cyrus said he had some difficult time getting the students to collaborate, so it didn't work for him necessarily. And then Eric, you have a set of problems for the group to complete. Yeah. Yeah, so it's, you know, you really need to think about, and that's one of this documents really talks about, you know, who is your audience, what are you hoping to achieve, and how long is your audience's attention span. So getting them to respond, prompting them with a question, giving them a quick poll, joining them in those breakout sessions to see how they're doing, giving them specific tasks, really thinking about that, what that learning objective is and how you illustrate that is really going to be the key to your success. Practicing with this technology is something that I highly recommend as well. I would recommend finding a friend or a couple friends or maybe even getting together as a synchronous teaching team and practicing and playing on those breakout sessions and see what works for you and kind of troubleshoot things so you're better prepared. It does work better when you have multiple students or multiple participants so you can see how those breakout sessions work and act together. Okay. I appreciate your time. I hope that you found this valuable and that you got some good information out of it. I would be glad to help you in any way that I can. Eric has a question. Can you log into Google before the presentation through GoToTraining to speed up the breakout process? Yes, so let me show you. I'm in the breakout session now. You're still seeing that on your screen. So the first time you do this, okay, the first time you go into the breakout session and you select edit a document together, you can add this document. It's going to ask you to log in again, but you can add a document. So let me, I'm going to start the breakout session again, and I'm going to have you look at what a Google document looks like in the breakout session. So cross our fingers we don't lose audio again. If you have to jump off because your time has come to an end, you're welcome to exit out of the presentation by hitting the X in the upper right-hand corner. If you want to hang out with me for just another moment, I'll show you what the Google document looks like. Okay, so let's start. And you'll see that under edit a document together, I've selected Math 123 demo, and I added that beforehand. So while I opened up about a half hour before you guys arrived, I went ahead and added this document to my breakout session. Okay, let's start the session. Okay, and now we're back into how the breakout session has ended. I can now enter into another activity if I wanted to do something else with you. Now, if I go into my Google Drive, let me show you what that looks like. When you log in to a breakout session for the very first time, and you go through and you create your Google account, it's going to ask you to sync that account with GoToTraining, and you just say yes, and it does that for you. It automatically creates a folder called GoToTraining in your drive, and you can access your Google Drive in My Ivy, which replaces Campus Connect, or you can just go log into Google using your Ivy Tech credentials, and then you can get to your file. So we just did our Math 123 demo. Okay, so when I click on this, this is the document that I sent to you. Okay, and here in the GoTo meeting, I can actually click on that student's contribution. Okay, so I now see Group B's document, and I can grade that and look at that. Oops. I've got too many browsers open. Okay, and that's how I access that particular document, so I can see it. Okay, and then I can look at breakout session A's as well. And the nerds unite. That's cute. All right, my friends. Oh, one more thing. I know it. I almost forgot to tell you. All right, so when you go log into GoToTraining and we create our accounts and we set up our sessions, okay, so this is the page we're looking for, okay? Up here on the right-hand corner, there's a 24/7 support. So when I click on 24/7 support, this is where I can actually get additional training materials and additional information about specific topics. So here's like a whole section on activities and breakouts. Okay, so GoTo products always have this 24/7 support. They have people who are live who can answer questions for you, and then you can also learn more about specific tools and features in this tool, in the GoToTraining tool. So I want to make sure that you have that resource available to you as well. Okay. All right, last chance for questions.
Yeah, hello, can you hear me, please?
I can hear you. Go ahead.
Okay. Are you helping with my login information? I don't know. I don't remember login.
Okay. It could be that your invitations got lost in your email. So if you guys ever go to your Microsoft Outlook and you've got that new clutter folder, try the message probably would have come from log me in. Okay, and it's one giant word, and I just put that in the chat box for you. Log me in. So do a search in your email for log me in. Okay, and you might have gotten an account notification. If you do not find your account information, then please let Sarah know, who's your instructional designer, or you can put a help desk ticket in, and we'll make sure that you get that account.
Okay, thank you.
You're welcome.
Kathy?
Yes.
Can we have this video available again?
Yes, absolutely. I have been recording this session. I will convert that over into a YouTube video, and I will make sure that gets sent out to you so you can access this again. I'm also doing another session of this, I want to say next week. So you're welcome to join me again if you're available at that time.
All right. Can you send me again this invitation? Because I suppose we need an invitation, right?
Yes, so let me get that link real quick for you, and I can put that in the chat box. I don't know what's going to happen if I click this link because we're live in this session right now. Oh, here we go. All right, I'm going to send you the link if you'd like to join me again. Okay.
Yes.
And that might be a good idea. You guys can practice and play maybe between now and then. And if you have additional questions, we'll try to have those answers for you next week. I believe that session is on Monday. But I'm not 100% sure. If you click that link, it'll show you the next available time.
All right.
Okay.
Thank you.
No, you're welcome.
Thank you so much.
And I do have everyone's email address from your registration, so I will send you the link to this recording as well. And I know that Sarah said that she was going to make this available to the curriculum committee as well. So.
Excellent.
Okay.
Thank you.
You're so welcome. Okay, thank you very much for your time, and I hope to talk to you again soon. Again, if you have any questions, you're always welcome to contact me at klong@ibtech.edu. If I don't know the answer, I will definitely track it down for you. Okay, have a great day, everyone, and a wonderful weekend. I'm going to go ahead and end this webinar for everyone.
Thank you.
You're welcome.